Today, we're diving into something called the state guarantee trap. It sounds a bit dramatic, I know, but stick with me. We're going to unpack a financial tool that, on the surface, sounds super responsible, but it might just be one of the biggest gambles a government can take with your money.
All right, let me ask you something. Just think about this for a second. A business comes to you and they've been losing money for 10 years straight, and they say, hey, could you co-sign this massive loan for us? Now remember, if they can't pay it back, you're on the hook for the whole thing. Would you sign that paper? Yeah, probably not.
And yet, this is exactly what governments do. It's a real practice that puts your taxpayer money on the line for companies that just keep failing. So what is going on here?
That brings us to our first section, the co-signer's dilemma. We're about to break down how you, the taxpayer, have been made a co-signer on some seriously risky loans, whether you knew about it or not.
And look, this whole co-signer thing, it's not just some clever analogy. It's a real thing with an official name. It's called a state guarantee and has some very, very real consequences.
So, let's get into it. Section 2, guarantee versus gamble. What does this term actually mean? Is it a solid, safe guarantee, or is it closer to a high-stakes gamble? On paper, it sounds pretty straightforward, right? A state-owned company needs a loan, the bank is maybe a little nervous, so the government steps in and says, hey, don't worry, if they can't pay, we will. It's kind of like the government using its A-plus credit rating to help out. But this is where things get interesting. Look at how it should work. You back a solid project, help it get a better loan, maybe save the public some money. That makes total sense. Now look at how it's actually being used. It's propping up companies that are chronically losing money. We're talking about entities where a default isn't just a risk, it's practically an expectation.
Of course, if you go digging through the official budget documents, you're not going to find a section called Our Risky Bets. Nope. You'll find this tucked away under a very boring, very safe-sounding name, contingent liability.
And this quote just absolutely nails the problem. The word contingent makes the debt feel distant, like something that might happen, maybe. But let's be real, when you're guaranteeing a loan for a company with a long, documented history of failure, how contingent is it really? Isn't it just a matter of time?
So just how big of a problem are we talking about? This is not pocket change. Let's dig into the numbers with a real-world example. Welcome to Section 3, the 3,000 crore rupee question.
Take a look at this number, 3,000 crore rupees. That's the amount of outstanding state guarantees in just one Indian state, Meghalaya, as of March 2023. A huge chunk of that is for the state's power sector, which has been struggling for a long, long time. Now, a number that big can be hard to wrap your head around, so let's put it in perspective. That hidden debt is equal to 7% of the state's entire economy for the year. It's GSDP. Imagine if 7% of your entire annual salary was on the line because you co-signed a loan for your most unreliable relative. That's the level of risk we're talking about here.
And this isn't some isolated issue. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has put out warnings saying these off-the-books guarantees are one of the most common ways governments suddenly find themselves in a massive financial crisis. It's a global pattern.
So let's cut right to the chase. When the inevitable happens and one of these perpetually money-losing companies finally defaults, who has to open the door and pay the bank?
You do. The money comes right out of the state budget. And where does the state budget come from? Your taxes. A state guarantee is essentially just a tax bill that hasn't been sent out yet. It's a ticking time bomb of deferred taxation. The bill will come due, and it's always the public that has to pay it. Which, leads to a pretty fundamental question. Why? Why would governments do this? Why would they basically give a company a license to fail, knowing that we, the public, will have to clean up the mess? Let's find out. I mean, it seems completely backwards, right? Why would you guarantee loans for companies that are proven to be unable to stand on their own 2 feet? Well, the answer seems to have a lot more to do with political accounting than sound economics. It's what you could call a hidden debt strategy. First, because it's a guarantee and not a direct loan, it keeps all that massive debt off the state's main balance sheet. This helps avoid tough questions and public debate. It also acts as a delayed bailout. You're just pushing a huge financial problem down the road for a future government and future taxpayers to deal with. And what does all of this achieve? Well, it subsidizes mismanagement and rewards inefficiency with public money.
So it starts out as a seemingly responsible guarantee, slowly but surely turns into a ticking financial time bomb, just sitting there, hidden away in the footnotes of the state budget.
So what can we do about it? Well, here is your research mission. Start asking some simple but incredibly powerful questions about your own state's finances. First, ask, what are the total accumulated losses of the companies getting these guarantees? Then, verify. Has a guarantee like this ever been triggered in the past? And finally, challenge the whole idea. Why are we using public money to subsidize failure?
Because that 3,000 crore rupee question in Meghalaya, you can bet a version of it is being asked everywhere, just with different numbers and in different currencies. And the only way to defuse these ticking time bombs is to find them first. So that leaves one last question. What's hiding in your state's budget?